She can't be trusted. Vanity Fair reporter expose Meghan's troubling reality issues. Greeting and a gracious welcome to the royal staff's channel. As the dust settles on Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's exit from the royal family, the Duchess is once again finding herself under scrutiny. Vanity Fair writer Vanessa Grigoriadis has come forward with some harsh criticism of Markle, saying that the former actress has a strange relationship to objective reality. Speaking on the Edge podcast, Grigoriadis, who profiled Markle in 2018, suggested that the way Markle and her husband have portrayed the press as an enormous monster is too convenient. She has this warped reality, and then she marshals evidence underneath it to support a thesis that may not be the case, Grigoriadis said. The writer went on to describe Markle as a striver who wanted to be a household name and rise above her family's shaggy dog background. However, in her pursuit of fame and success, Markle struggled with authenticity, according to Grigoriadis. During her reporting on Markle, Grigoriadis spoke to some acquaintances who described the former Suits star as someone who seems warm and friendly, but isn't someone you can be friends with. It's clear that Markle's portrayal in the media has been polarizing, with some seeing her as a breath of fresh air for the royal family, while others view her as calculating and disingenuous. According to Grigoriadis, a writer colleague spent a day with Markle and came away with the impression that this person just is not on the level. That's certainly a curious statement, but it's not the only eyebrow-raising comment that's been made about the Duchess of Sussex. Reports suggest that Markle unnerved a reporter named Alison during a meeting, leading her to question just how mentally stable the former actress really is. And it's not just Alison who's expressed concerns about Markle's well-being. Many have suspected for a while that the Duchess is struggling with her mental health, and some reporters have even hinted at it in their articles. As I read through these comments, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of pity for Markle. After all, she's an older woman who's been divorced, and yet she's expected to fit the mold of a young mother perfectly. That's a tall order for anyone, let alone someone who doesn't feel like they fit in with any race. It's a feeling that many of us can relate to, and one that could have been the catalyst for a powerful movement. But instead of creating more acceptance and understanding for blended families, Markle seems to have done the opposite. She's drawn more racial lines and created more fear, and that's just plain sad. Of course, not everyone sees things this way. Some people are convinced that Markle is simply playing the victim card and trying to manipulate the media for her own gain. They point to the fact that Alison was allegedly fired or suspended from her job after the article came out, and suggest that Markle is behind it all. Personally, I find that hard to believe. To me, it seems like a case of a creepy, mentally unwell person trying to silence their critics. And while it's true that many people who used to associate with the Harkles are now staying silent, that's not necessarily a sign of support for the couple. Rather, it's a sign that nobody wants to step in and argue logic and reason with two people who seem to be in a very dark place right now. And as much as we might want to help, there's only so much we can do. It's a sad state of affairs, but unfortunately, it's one that's unlikely to change anytime soon. Ideally, it should be Charles' call, but we all know how impossible it would be for him to drag them to a mental health facility and keep them quiet. Ideally, it should be Charles' call, but we all know how impossible it would be for him to drag them to a mental health facility and keep them quiet. The Harkles have been the talk of the town for some time now, and it seems like everyone is just waiting for them to run out of fuel and crash on their own. But will that ever happen? Speculation has been running rampant regarding the unnamed writer who recently penned a scathing profile of Markle. Some believe it to be Alison P. Davis, who wrote another revealing piece about the Duchess for The Cut back in August. On a recent podcast, host Gold posed the question of how Markle compares to some of the narcissists and sociopaths that journalist Grigoriadis has encountered in her career, such as while reporting on the Nexium cult. Grigoriadis didn't hold back, stating that Markle is not a psychopath but there is something off about all of them, referring to Markle and her family. But that's not all. Grigoriadis went on to reveal that an editor at an unnamed women's magazine expressed to her that they didn't want anything negative about Markle on their website. This revelation stands in stark contrast to how Markle and Harry have portrayed their relationship with the press. In both their Oprah interview and their Netflix docuseries Harry Meghan, The couple has painted the tabloids as their main adversary. But according to Gregoriadis, that's just part of Markle's warped reality. The journalist explains that Markle was desperate for the press to be interested in her and that her battles with the media serve as an ace up the hole for the couple. Any press manipulation that they themselves engage in is now justified. It's no secret that Meg has always wanted two things: fame and money. This desire has remained constant no matter where she's been living. The paradox of seeking fame and publicity without accountability has resulted in a warped reality for the Duchess. During her time as a TIG influencer, Markle had just enough followers to feel like she was on track to achieving her ultimate goal of fame. But she wasn't famous enough to be called out for accountability. Now, all of her narcissistic strategies that have gone unchecked are being exposed more and more in the public domain. And quite frankly, she's constantly swinging between a meltdown and doubling down. In the end, it's clear that Markle wanted the get rich and famous quick now immediately with virtually no effort because I was born just so very special variety of fame and money, rather than the kind of wealth and fame that comes from studying the craft of acting, for example. My criticism of Thomas Markle, Meghan's father, is that he raised his older children differently from how he raised Meghan. He admittedly spoiled her and gave her every opportunity in life to have a career in entertainment or outside of it. And we now see the result. A person who thinks her truth is the truth and cannot tolerate even the slightest criticism, no matter how objectively accurate it is. Really, to me, none of this matters except to the extent she sees the US political office. We do not need more self-absorbed politicians. And to think she could have had not only fame but would have gone down in history for good reasons. Whether we like it or not, she is a part of royal history now. All she had to do was not be dumb, smile for the cameras, she still does that, right? And work, a few days a year. It is actually silly how stupid they are. But now, let us dive into the juicy details of some amazing journalism tea. Gregoriadis, a reputable journalist, mentioned a writer-colleague who spent a day with Meghan at her home in California for a magazine profile. And guess what? Her takeaway was, this person just is not on the level. Gregoriadis went on to reveal that her friend also said, "I don't want to be here." The writer in question is suspected to be Alison P. Davis, a writer for The Cut. The journalistic world is clearly talking internally about what happened with Alison. I think Meghan probably raged at that Cut article, and that rage was heard over the hills and through editors' doors. She is slowly building enemies here in America. Unfortunately, the sense of power it feeds her, to have people fired, etc., just makes her more of an abominable person. She is a fraud, and although she thinks she is fooling everyone, more people are calling her out. The desperate need for media attention exposes her to scrutiny, and she is seen and exposed. So, there you have it, Meghan Markle, the self-absorbed politician in waiting, who cannot handle any form of criticism and is building enemies left, right, and center. What do you think of this explosive take on the Duchess of Sussex? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching and I'll see you on the next video.